In this video, we will learn how to find the standard deviation for a dataset using the TI graphing calculator. The dataset here shows the heights in feet of the 12 tallest buildings in New York City. We will use the TI graphing calculator to find the standard deviation for this dataset. Since this dataset is the complete set of all of the 12 tallest buildings in New York City and not a sample, we will make sure that we find the population standard deviation. We will begin by pushing Stat and then accessing the Edit function where we can edit our lists by pressing 1. Then enter the data values and press Enter in between each entry. Then press Stat, use the cursor button to cursor over to Calc, and then one variable statistics, so press 1. We're going to find the one variable statistics for list 1. So we will leave the list set at list 1 and then cursor down to calculate and press Enter. There are two values given for the standard deviation. Notice that one is given as an S value and the other as a sigma value. Recall that sigma is the symbol for the population standard deviation. So our population standard deviation would be given then as 236.7 when we round to one more decimal place than occurs in the raw data. So we will report the population standard deviation with the appropriate symbol sigma. That will then be sigma equal to 236.7. Now let's look at the data set for the 12 tallest buildings in Chicago. To find the standard deviation for the 12 tallest buildings in Chicago, we will enter the data into a list by pressing Stat, press 1 to edit a list. This time we'll put the data values in list 2. Then we'll press Stat, cursor over to Calc, again one variable statistics, but this time we will specify the list as list 2. So we'll press second 2, which will then specify list 2. Cursor down until calculate is highlighted and then press Enter. And again, we look for the sigma symbol since this was a population, and we find that we have a population standard deviation of 200.4. So the standard deviation will be reported as sigma equal to 200.4. This smaller standard deviation indicates that there is less variation in the heights of the 12 tallest buildings in Chicago than there is in the heights of the 12 tallest buildings in New York. Now let's look at a random sample of 12 taken from the 133 tallest buildings in the USA. This time, the data represent a sample, so we will be sure to choose the correct measure from the list of one variable statistics given by the TI calculator. In order to find the sample standard deviation for the random sample of 12 of the 133 tallest buildings in the USA, we will again enter the data values into a list, so we'll press Stat, then press 1 to edit a list, and this time we'll put the data values into list 3. Now in order to find the sample standard deviation, we'll press Stat, cursor over to Calc, and then press 1 for one variable statistics. This time we put the data values into list 3, so we will press second 3 to specify list 3 as the list that we would like to find statistics for. Cursor down to calculate and press Enter. And recall that our symbol for the sample standard deviation is S. So our sample standard deviation then, if we round to one decimal place, is 134.9. Using the correct symbol and rounding rule, we will report the sample standard deviation as S equal to 134.9. In this video, we learned how to calculate the standard deviation for a dataset using the TI graphing calculator.